Alrighty. Ah, shit. I usually have something to fill in this intro. Like I usually tell you about my KFC, my Hungry Jacks. But I ain't got nothing. I got fuck all. So welcome everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Verdugo podcast. I genuinely really hope you guys are doing well. You know, being isolated, even and other people who have to be quarantined. My thoughts and prayers go out to everyone out there. You know, times are tough, but you know what? I can guarantee you that times are going to be so much better after everything is over. That I can promise you, because now that we're going through a situation like this, we're going to be so much more better prepared. You know, if touch wood if there's another situation like this to happen in the future. But you know what? In times like this is where you really get to find yourself whilst you're being isolated and hanging out by yourself. This is probably the main thing I learned. And this is not a topic, by the way. This is my intro, yeah? So just relax. We're going to get into it very soon. But the only thing I'm saying is that you really get to find yourself when you're isolated like this and told to not be around other people. You know, I remember I spent a lot of time being alone and really found myself, which is amazing. It's like the best thing ever. The only thing is that I get bored. But you know what? I found Warzone. So any of my boys out there on the Warzone Battle Royale tings, message me on the Instagram, Verdugo.Vibes. I want to G up and get a squad going. Because I'm sick and tired of playing with people who are shit and don't know how to play the fucking game and make me lose. Because, you know, I want to win. I'm all about fucking winning. But anyways, the topic of today is something which came into my mind probably about 20 minutes ago. Because I had nothing ready for this podcast, I'll be honest. I had nothing. I was so like, oh my days, what do I do? And then this came up and it's like, you know what, let's do it. Because today I actually got a few of this certain item. The topic today is vinyl. How do you go about vinyl? How do you go about listening to vinyl? How do you get into vinyl in the first place? How do I set up a record player? How do I go about like speakers? How do I start? All these questions were haunting me when I first got into the vinyl scene. It was something where I've always thought about it. I'd always watched like the main video I remember seeing, which started this all, was actually a vinyl collection from Tabby, Tabby. He's a YouTuber who actually doesn't do that much videos anymore, but he used to do reaction videos. And he had uploaded a video on his vinyl collection. Had a look at it and was like, you know what? It'd actually be pretty cool to be able to see all the albums and all the artists who I love and appreciate physically, like as a physical copy. CDs is a different story. CDs I've been buying, okay, I'm not going to say I'm a full CD collector, I'm not. But back when I was a kid, the first ever CD I bought, I believe might have been either Channel Orange or Take Care. I think it was whichever album came out first, I purchased that. And I remember on the Channel Orange CD, it actually has a letter in there dedicated to his fans who purchased the CD. And the letter states about him coming out, you know, as being, I think it was labeled as bisexual or gay. I wasn't quite sure. I remember reading it probably sometime last year. And that's the only thing I only found about it recently, because I went through my CDs and started to like organize everything, open up Channel Orange, went through the artwork, which now is I can appreciate more, and read the letter and was like, holy shit, everyone knew this whole time if you are a dedicated fan. So CDs on the other hand, they're really good to buy and they're much cheaper too. You can have like a physical copy, but the only thing is it doesn't feel the same as vinyl. So I've got like a list of, you know, I actually wrote a script kind of to go about, and because this is a lot to cover in. So basically we're going to go through why I got into it in the first place, my experience, the experience of vinyl compared to just listening through a streaming service such as Spotify, which by the way, if you listen to it on Spotify, make sure you hit that follow button. Make sure you guys, we're on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Apple Podcasts. Just letting you know, Robert Verdugo Podcasts. But moving on, we go through the you should I'm blabbering. Why get into vinyl in the first place? You know, basics and the basics of a record player setup, and how do we go about setting up a record player and setting up your first vinyl listening session, because it can be very overwhelming and very just nuts to begin with. So moving on, firstly, why did I get into vinyl in the first place? And that's quite easy, because for me, I've always listened to music growing up. I've always loved music. I used to burn CDs with my favorite songs on there. You know, it was just the way to go about back then. But it's just something different listening to a vinyl and putting it on a record player and leaving it on the speakers, or putting in headphones, because you can have a setup where you can actually put on a proper pair of headphones dedicated to the vinyl, you know, setup. But there's something different. It could be just a mental thing, just that you have a physical vinyl sitting on a record player where it's like actual music embedded in that disc, on that vinyl, and it goes through the actual system, through the sound, it's like speakers, and then out into the open. Is something, for me, it could be a mental thing. I don't know if it's actually true about, you know, vinyl having a actual difference in musical quality. I do believe that they say that it's about the same difference as listening to it in FLAC, if FLAC's like an audio file. But for me, just the experience of sitting down, opening up the sleeve, putting it on, cleaning it, by the way, which we'll get into very soon, cleaning it, putting it on there, and just listening. It's an experience that you cannot take away. And I can honestly tell you, every vinyl in my collection that I've listened to, which is borderline almost all of them, I've got about 3 or 4 I need to get through, those I can remember all of them, or every single experience from listening to them, I can remember. I can remember putting on Rodeo for the first time, which I've listened to. I've listened to Rodeo. Everyone fucking has. If you haven't, by Travis Scott, go and check it out. The album's fucking crazy. I remember putting on Rodeo, first up, opening the sleeve and seeing the artwork. Crazy good. Putting it on the vinyl player or the record player and just putting on, and just I was doing maybe a little bit of chores within my room, just a bit of cleaning, and I got to a point where I just sat down and I just looked at my player, at the record player, and just sat there and was like, holy shit, this is incredible. And it kind of took me, it put me back in my seat and thought, whoa, can really appreciate an album like this. And that goes for most of them. I've got a vinyl from Ariana Grande. I've got Thank You Next, which, by the way, I didn't think was hard to, I thought it was, you know, easy to find, but it wasn't. It's all over Discogs, which once again I'll get into very soon. But I listened to Thank You Next and was blown away as well. Like, holy shit. And the artwork in that is incredible. And probably from the top of my head, my favorite artwork out of everything that I have in my collection, which isn't a lot. I don't have many, probably about 20 vinyl. Yeah, it's about 20 or 22, I think. The best artwork that I've seen would have to be in line. They both go in the top one spot. Would have to be Watching Movies with the Sound Off by Mac Miller. That has a gatefold. And if you don't know what a gatefold is, it's the actual album itself, the vinyl actually opens up and has 2 discs in there. Sometimes there's a 2 disc within just a normal vinyl sleeve, but a gatefold, it kind of opens up like a book, and it has like double the artwork, which is incredible. So my favorite one would have to be either the Watching Movies with a Sound Off by Mac, or Scumfuck Flower Boy by Tyler the Creator. That was incredible. That was just so, it was funny, it was charismatic, it was very Tyler at the time as well, which I really appreciated. So for the time being, those are my 2 favorite off the top of my head that I can remember. And this is one thing I definitely want to say to you. When you get your first ever vinyl, I really, really want you to think about which one you're going to buy. Make sure the very, very first one you buy is the one that's going to mean the most to you. If you somehow get gifted one and you never really bought one, or you bought one just because you saw it was on sale, that's fine. That's cool. Like, whatever. That's completely fine. But my first time buying vinyl, a vinyl album, was Swimming by Mac Miller. It came out in September of 2018. I probably bought it around maybe start of 2019, I believe, or maybe the end of 2018. So that's where my actual vinyl addiction started. Probably just the end of 2018, start of 2019, and that was my first one. So Swimming by Mac, I actually have 2 copies. I've got one sealed and one that I open and listen to. So that was like the very first one that meant a lot to me. And if you want to get into it and you think you want to invest in something like this, make sure your very first one means the most to you. But anyways, the experience of vinyl when I listen to it, it's more got to do with the details of the sound that you're listening to. I feel like I've read an article or read online that when you play vinyl, more of the low end actually gets, it's more richer, if that makes sense. So if you've got a nice pair of speakers, the more low end of the song that you're listening to pops out a lot more. You kind of get those, like the depth of the song. I'm not a music artist. Like, I don't know, 808s, and the only thing I really know is 808s, snares, the bass, all that type of shit. That's only the basic stuff is what I know. And more of the 808s and stuff and the bass line and everything like that, that comes out in the vinyl, 100%, can guarantee. I remember listening to Astro World, and I remember thinking, holy shit, you could really feel and hear the richness of the album, which is incredible. So that's what, is one detail that pops out a lot to me. And the other one have to be the nice clickety pops and skirt that you can hear when you listen to it, especially if you have an old record. I've got one by Frank Sinatra. I remember went out to a thrift store. I bought 2 albums. I bought an Elvis Presley vinyl record, which I gave for Valentine's, and I also got a Frank Sinatra for myself. And I believe the Frank Sinatra record, I can't remember off the top of my head what it was called, but listening to it, it took me back to the 70s and the 60s. Like, it was crazy how it sounded, and the clickety pops and the scratchy, and it sometimes does skip, which is a little bit annoying. But when you clean it, that's where you can get most of it out. But it's a little bit more, I wouldn't say nostalgic, but you get that nice sensation when you hear it, and it's just, some people it does their head in. For me, it doesn't. So it's more of a personal thing. And the reason why I always buy vinyl as well is because, yeah, it is a little bit more expensive, but you do get to support the artist and actually the store that you buy it from. So one main store which I go to, especially because they do have Afterpay, which is a fucking G up, is I go to Discrepancy Records. It's a place locally here, like based in Melbourne. The place is about 25 minutes from my house. I'll put an order online and then wait, and then I'll go pick it up and have a suss of some other stuff. The only thing which I get right now in this point in time, obviously, due to the whole situation that's going on, it can be a little bit pricey. Some records go from $90, which is like the average price for a record is between $40 and $60. That's how much you'd be willing to pay. There's some out there for like $110, $100, which is, make sure you look at other places before you go and drop $100 on a vinyl, because that's pretty pricey unless it's a limited edition from the actual artist store, signed or deluxe or rare edition or something like that. So I think I mentioned before why I get into it in the first place is to have like a collection. And if I didn't, I'll briefly mention this now. Is I got into vinyl because I want to have something where I could see every single artist, that I love, shown on a wall. I can have this collection forever. I can show it to my kids. I can chuck it on a record player when I have kids, like in the future, play it and say, hey guys, this is what I listened to when I was your age, and be like, holy shit. Like, who knows what my kids are going to think of what I listen to now, and some albums which I'll buy in the future. And they'll be listening to it thinking, whoa, this is what he listened to. This is so 2020s. And it's like, holy shit, what the fuck? That's pretty crazy to think about, because my parents do the same. Like, my mum used to have the original issue of Thriller by Michael Jackson. And it's like, I can't believe you had the original issue and it's gone. Like, that's what I don't want to happen to me. I want to have everything that I can have now and have it forever, which is good. And then the one major thing with vinyl is that you can branch out to different genres. For instance, with me, I've got a record which my grandmother gave me by Andre Rio. It's like he's not an orchestra, but he does I'm not even going to say jazz blues. It's just very soul not even soul. It's just very old music. I don't really know how to explain it. If you don't know who it is, it's Andre Rio. Last name is Rieu. And it's my grandma's favorite artist. So I've got it. It's beautiful. And I branched out to Frank Sinatra. I bought it for like $5. And my dad actually bought me a Metallica one. It's a live Metallica album from 2012, I believe, off the top of my head, which is crazy. But moving on, we're going to get into the nitty and gritty. Is that the term for it? I think it is. The hard part of vinyl. And that's starting off, how do you go about a record player? Like, what the fuck do I even look for? And trust me, I've been in your position. I know exactly how you feel, because you see all these vinyl and which, by the way, it's vinyl, not vinyls. There's actually no plural sound of vinyl, if that makes sense. Just thought I'd let you know. But moving on, I'd always see like these vinyl pop up like a JB, or I'd go past like a thrift store or something. I'd see him like, man, I wish I could listen to that. But like, how do you go about listening to it in the first place? So there are 3 separate components into a record player setup, which is a turntable, a preamp. Actually, no, there's 4 technically. Turntable, preamp, amplifier, and speakers. All 4 of them go hand in hand with each other. You cannot use any of them. If you leave one of them out, it doesn't work. So I know what I just said, those words, and it probably means absolutely nothing to you. Turntable is what the vinyl actually sits on. It's the iconic thing that you guys always see in movies and stuff. It's what the little needle goes on, and the needle actually will take out the sound, will take out the music and put it into the speakers. Easy enough. The preamp is actually what powers up the turntable. Simple enough. You know, you need a preamp in order to power the turntable, or else it's not going to work. Moving on, amplifier and speakers, they go hand in hand. Obviously, you need speakers to project sound, and you need amplifier to power up those speakers, or else sounds are going to come through. So without those 4 components, being a turntable, a preamp, an amplifier, and some speakers, if you have all 4 of those, fucking happy days, it's going to work. In my case, I technically only have 2 of them, but it includes all 4 components, which I'll go into now, which a turntable can actually have a built-in preamp. So if you're starting off, especially on a bit of a budget, I would highly recommend that you go out and you look for a turntable which actually already has the preamp in there, which, I mean, in the long run, it really depends how you want to go about upgrading your setup, because most people, including me, definitely want to upgrade the setup in the future and be able to add different components in at different times. If I buy a turntable and it has a preamp built in, I can't go out and buy a preamp to upgrade it. I have to buy a separate turntable and a separate preamp altogether. Same thing with the amplifier and speakers. If I buy a pair of speakers which have an amplifier in them and I want to power up and get more meat out of these speakers, I'd have to just go a completely different setup. In my case specifically, I have the Audio-Technica LP60. This is my recommendation. This is the bread and butter when it comes to vinyl and starting off. This Audio-Technica LP60 is it is the best entry-level record player that I could recommend to anyone. I did my research and everyone always recommends this first because the price point is amazing. It's around $200 to $250. You can find them on $200 Australian, mind you. $200 Australian on sale, or $250. You can actually find the X version, so the LP60X, which includes, I believe, a USB outlet and Bluetooth. So my definite recommendation to go for a turntable is the Audio-Technica LP60. Could not recommend this more to anyone. The setup is really easy. Believe me, setting up a record player could be very daunting. If you have an expensive record player, which comes with a counterweight. Yeah, it does come with a counterweight, has the needle, you have to put in the cartridge as well. This can all be very daunting, but with the LP60, it's pretty much done for you. You just got to take it out of the box and just follow the instructions. If I can do it and set it up myself, you guys can do it too. So that's just the turntable side of things. Mincing up my words, mate. I've got to step up my my word game, my speech game. But moving on, with the preamp, it actually comes built in, so you don't have to worry about that. It's already included in the price, so that's fine. Moving on to the speakers, I definitely would recommend getting an amplifier built in. That was like 100% recommendation, just as starting off, because once again, you don't have to worry about going out and buying another separate component. So my recommendation would have to be the Edifier R1700. These are amazing. My friend actually has them, which is going to convince me to buy them because they are an incredible amount of speakers, and they're active speakers. What do I mean by active speakers? So there is a difference. There are two different types of speakers, passive and active. Active speakers basically have an amp built in. You don't have to worry about having a separate power component. Passive speakers need an amplifier. So that's literally all it is. If you want to Google it, if you want a pair of speakers to use with your turntable and you don't have an amplifier, Google active speakers and just go about it then. But my recommendation 100% is the Edifier R1700. They're about 140 Australian bucks, cheap as shit, and you get amazing quality out of it, like astonishing quality. So I definitely recommend that 100%. But now that we have all that out of the way, so we've got the four components being a preamp, a turntable, a amplifier, and some speakers. Basically, all you need to do, if you want the best setup possible, you get the LP60 by Audio Technica and the Edifier R1700, and you're sweet. You literally plug and play them both. They come with this, like the cables and everything. Plug them in, and you're ready to go. That's literally all it is. However, location of where you put your setup for this, record player, it really depends where you put it, honestly. If you put it in the garage where it's dusty and gross, like, what the fuck are you doing? Legit. So my recommendation is to put it in a, like a bedroom or a guest room, or a room dedicated if you want. I definitely would love to, like definitely when I move out. I want to have like a dedicated room to like my vinyl listening experience, have like a nice couch, have some cigars, some alcohol there, have a steez going on. Oh, fucking hell, that'd be amazing. But technically you want to have a place where there's a lot of furniture, so the sound doesn't bounce around off the walls. And you don't want to have your turntable share the same surface as your speakers. So I know what you're thinking. You're probably like, why the fuck would that matter? Basically, if you have your turntable set up on like a table, that's really weird how I said that. If you share a surface, like let's say for instance, if I have an 8-cube unit from IKEA, which is the best setup to use for storing vinyl. If you have a system, if you put the turntable on that surface and you put the speakers directly right next to your turntable's not going to last long because of the vibrations that your speakers produce. Obviously they're going to be loud and you're going to listen to them pretty loud. That's going to cause vibrations and disturb the needle within your turntable, which it could snap and it can damage your actual vinyl, which would suck. But definitely find a different surface to mount your speakers. What I would recommend is finding these things called speaker stands. They literally become eye level, and that's probably the best place to like listen to put speakers. So it's like mid-level throughout the actual room itself. That would be like my top recommendation. Find some speaker stands, chuck them on that, and that's it. My setup, however, it's not working. Definitely not right now. I can't listen to anything because I have this TV unit, which I bought from Facebook a while ago. It used to be my backdrop. I moved that to my bedroom, and unfortunately, because of the way it's sitting, because I had to actually move it clockwise for it to fit in my room, weirdly enough, it doesn't reach. The cables actually don't reach. So eventually I'm going to find like a coffee table or something, like just a little side unit, and then have speaker stands, and it'll be perfect. So once again, like I said, don't share the same surface with, your speakers and your turntable, because that would suck. And it ruins the experience, because there's going to be way too many crackles and pops and skipping that, you could actually remove just from moving your speakers. But moving on, where can you buy your vinyl? Where can you go out and buy albums and stuff like that? It's quite simple. Is just check your local stores first. It's always good to support your local brands. I check out Discrepancy Records, and then I know it's pretty shameful to go, but I do go to JB because they do have a fucking good selection and they have really decent specials. I found a really, really good deal today. I actually found Future, the self-titled album, which came out a while ago, like ages ago, which, you know, Future kind of revolutionized the trap wave and, you know, the way things are going, psychedelic trap, whatever, paired with Travis Scott. So I got the Future self-titled album along with Thursday, which is part of the trilogy from The Weeknd, which is his first 3 mixtapes. I got both of those for $50. $25 a pop. That is disgustingly cheap, considering Thursday by The Weeknd on its own is $59. So when I saw that online, I was like, I'm so going to jump on this. JB, happy days, bro. Discrepancy have deals as well. I came across, what did I come across? It was like a 3-piece set. It was Astroworld's Birds in the Trap, Sing McKnight, and also Rodeo. All 3 of these albums on vinyl were altogether $140, which, fuck, it's $140 for just music. But if you think about it, that's only like 4, 8, 12. It's like $45 a pop. Rodeo on its own is like $90. So, fucking steal if you ask me. And it's when Astroworld just dropped too, which was sick. So, all in all, just find out like your local stores, and then if not, what I definitely recommend, because then you go into the world of bootleg and how what is bootleg? Bootleg. So when you find a vinyl, let's say for instance Channel Orange. This is a prime example which I'll use. Channel Orange never came out on vinyl. Never ever been published. Never actually went through a company and became an official licensed vinyl. There are many, many albums out there that actually have never been officially pressed. For instance, a lot of, you know, mixtapes, most mixtapes out there have been non-issue, you know, releases. Like they've just been on mixtapes, whatever. There's these things called bootlegs, which companies will go out there and they'll print the music and put it on a vinyl and then they'll sell it. It depends how you go about it. Some people will be like, nah, I'm not going to buy fake stuff. I don't want to buy a bootleg. Me, I actually don't mind it because I want to have the entire collection, because I know most of the time it's not going to come out. For instance, Macadelic and Faces by Mac Miller, they're never coming out on vinyl. So I'd rather have a bootleg, have a decent bootleg as well, and have a nice copy of it physically to have there and be like, I have the entire discography by that certain artist. The Weeknd is a good example of a artist who went out and actually published his mixtapes on an actual record. So Thursdays, Echoes of Silence, and House of Balloons all came out on vinyl. I think they issued in 2017, I believe. And if you're sitting on the trilogy on vinyl, an official pressing, that's it. You're one lucky fuck, because there's only 1,000 of those trilogy official pressings from The Weeknd, which is crazy. Another example I use is Blonde from Frank Ocean. That is that is a vinyl which is part of a lot of people's grails because it's incredibly hard to find. So if you see a limited edition vinyl pressing on an artist's website, go ahead and jump on it, because if they only open for about 3 hours and you miss out, the chances of you buying that in the future for resale, you'd be laughing, dude. Trust me. Like before I bought The Divine Feminine by Mac Miller, that shit was selling for a lot. Like a fucking lot. And I came across and I found it on Urban Outfitters. Like they just did a restock. So I just make sure, just watch out, just wait for a bit. But once again, bootlegs, the main website which I go on is called Discogs. It's DISCOGS, or without the S. Not quite sure. Discogs it's a website dedicated to having an immense, over 1 million vinyl on there, and they have bootlegs, they have official pressings, and they have information on the artist and the album of the actual artist, whether it was bootleg or not. And then there's people that sell it on there. There's an actual marketplace on there where you can buy bootlegs, you can buy actual pressings, and they all specify in their listing whether it's a bootleg or not. And you just go about it then, and it's all over the world. It's a very, very good place to start off to find what you like and whether or not you want to pay it as well, which is really good. And last but not least, how do we go about storing and taking care of our vinyl, and how do we go all about that? Because that could be daunting as well. The worst thing you could do is put your greasy fingers all over the vinyl, and then it just looks disgusting, and then it's just, no. you don't ever put your fingers on the lines of the vinyl. When you take it out of the actual sleeve, there's a little black edge where there's nothing on there. It's literally the outer edge. It's legit probably 1/2 centimeter wide. That's where your finger sits because there's no music there. Just grab it off from the ends and then from the middle where like the little hole is, where it has a little artwork. Put your finger on that and on the outside, you'll be fine. Just don't ever put your fingers and hold it like a frisbee. Don't ever hold that shit like a frisbee because that's fucked. That is like, oh my God. When I've seen collections on YouTube and there's people out there that do like, they hold it like a frisbee. Oh, they get roasted in the comments. Everyone's like, what are you doing? You don't hold it like that, blah, blah, blah. So don't be that person, pretty much. But storing, quite simply, just don't leave it out in the sun. And the main thing I will definitely use is the 8 cube or 6 or 4 or 16 if you have that many fucking records. Cube unit from IKEA, or there's one from Kmart as well. So they're, I think, like $40, $50 or something. You might even find them on Facebook Marketplace or something. You find that. I've used to have an 8 cube unit. That's like probably the best option and good startup. You know, you can put some LED lights in there. Put a nice little like decorations as well as your vinyl as well. It's a very, very cool added aesthetic, which is very nice. But in terms of storing, that's what I would highly recommend. And how you go about taking care of your vinyl. The one thing I always do, which I actually ran out, the one thing I do is I buy inner sleeves and outer sleeves. So inner sleeves is actually what comes in the vinyl. So when you open up, when you get like the actual physical copy and you see the artwork and stuff, the actual disc or the actual vinyl sits in a sleeve. The sleeve that you get in store or the company that gives it to you, it's in like a paperish, disgusting, just, it's prone to just scratch the shit out of your record. So don't just throw that straight away in the bin. You don't need that. Definitely don't use it. I recommend when you start off and getting your first one, buy these things called inner sleeves. It comes in like a nice fabric where it doesn't scratch. It's in every single record store, trust me. Just go about, say, hey, I want some inner sleeves for my records, and they'll show you. And just get like maybe 20 or 25 or whatever it is. You can get like 50 for like $10 or something. And then you definitely want to get some outer sleeves. So these outer sleeves you can find once again at record stores or online on Amazon or whatever it may be. These outer sleeves, you can actually use them to protect the artwork and the actual outside of your vinyl, because the worst thing you want to have is, you know, the actual display of your vinyl. For instance, the display of Mac Miller swimming. If that gets scratched and, you know, loses its print and it looks faded and it looks shit, I'm going to be very upset and it sucks. And it gets all dusty and it just looks shit. So go out, look up for some outer sleeves, and they're impeccable. I think I bought 20 or 25. I already ran out, so I have to get more. Sadly enough, they're like $20 or something, a little bit more pricey, but they're worth it. And then you can get ones for gatefold, and you can get ones for just standard vinyl issued stuff, the normal album ones. So that's what I definitely recommend. The inner and outer sleeves is a must every time, and that's probably like due to the experience as well that I love doing. I love getting an album like today when I got my Future and Weekend album or vinyl. When I got those, I straight away took them out of the sleeve, looked at like the artwork, and then threw out the paper that was in there and then chucked in these ones. And sometimes the actual sleeve where the vinyl comes in actually has artwork in there, which is cool. The Future one has incredible artwork. It actually looks like it's the album cover is very rustic and murky and really worn out. And then when you feel the actual texture of this vinyl, it feels exactly what it looks like. And that's literally what I said out loud when I felt it. I was like, whoa, this actually feels like what it looks like. It looks really sick. Went into the artwork, and the sleeve actually has artwork on it. So that's one thing you don't want to throw out. But with these inner sleeves, they fit into that sleeve of the artwork, if that makes sense. Man, it's a lot of talking, but you will definitely understand what I mean when you get your first record. You'll get your first record, you open it out of the sleeve and be like, fuck, this is crazy. Like, I have like a physical copy. You chuck it on your record player and you're like, way! You just lose your minds. I remember playing swimming for the first time and was like, holy shit. It was incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I will never forget that day. It was like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, set it up, got everything ready, and was like, damn, this is fucking nuts. So, I mean, that's all what I have to say about vinyl, man. Honestly, it's a really, really fucking good thing to do and to have and to, cherish it for the rest of your life. And you'll always be able to look back at what you listen to, you look at your favorite artists over the years, and then you get to see like how your progression has changed and what genres you're fucking with and you're not messing with. It really depends. So if you have any questions in regards to vinyl and what you should go about, just give me a message on Instagram. Instagram is at Verdugo.Vibes, and we do have the Instagram dedicated Robert Verdugo podcast, which I need to upload on more, which really sucks. I always forget about it, but I have to. But, once again, go about it. Just message me, and if not, just look on YouTube. There are a variety of videos on YouTube which can help you out in determining how you want to go about your certain setup, which is what, I did at the start, because I didn't know anything and just went about YouTube and found that out myself. So, with all that being said, I'm going to leave you a tune from Thursday by The Weeknd. I will see you guys in the next podcast on the Robert Verdugo podcast. Have a great week, guys. See you next week. I'm out. Peace.
Don't make me make you fall in love with a nigga like me.